you for accepting this talk and thank you for all the preparation you did for this talk, and especially today. But so it's something that I not just in a detached manner want to show, but it is a clearly political and rhetorical issue that I have here to raise. So that's why I'm standing in front of you and I'm watching you, because you are interesting for me, because I want to change something. Not just speak about it, but through speaking to change. Okay. So it is a serious proposal. So one of the referees was not sure if it's a serious proposal or just a provocative thing. So it's completely serious. I'm completely serious about what I'm going to talk here about. Yeah? And it is a pragmatic proposal. It is not an idealistic thing. Yeah? We were confronted with a couple of idealistic things today and yesterday, and this is a realistic issue. So, that's it. Abandon mathematics from school. And I'm completely serious about this. Don't abandon it completely. Reduce it to the level that you have, for example, music at school. You have 1 or 2 hours a week being presented with high achievements from music, listening to some Chopin, to some Jay-Z, to some kind of whatever is important for the teacher there. And of course we have extracurricular activities in music. You have a choir, a school choir, you have an orchestra at school, you have probably the possibility to learn violin at school. Yeah? So you can decide at any stage of your school curriculum to go more intensively into music. And you should have this possibility also in your maths curriculum. Yeah? But it is your personal decision. Yeah? And of course you can go also to some specialized school. But say, I want to become an engineer, I want to become a mathematician. Yeah? Because I'm really interested in it. And these people are no more such nerdy ones or guys, or also those and so on. And I want to become like them. Yeah? And I have no more this enemy as my mathematics teacher, who is a bad example for this. Also all kind of other professions, and there might be also people who are just interested in it, who want to become historians. Sorry, not historians of mathematics, but geographers or literary, or whatever, clerks, whatever. Yeah? And might be interested in this. Yeah? So why? A little bit about the status. So what's about on the level of school children, pupils, or people? So they'll normally reduce mathematics. This is of course a reduced version, because otherwise I couldn't finish the talk. Reduce mathematics to insertion into formulas. This is my impression by teaching undergraduate mathematics to engineers, including some bridging courses for repeating school mathematics and so on. So they tend to insert into formulas without thinking much, and the use of electronic devices or computer algebra systems and so on. They hate it. Yeah? There is some anxiety. There have been in the 80s some studies, Sheila Tobias and others, on math anxiety. Probably you know this better than me, in New York setting, but not just. Yeah? Especially concerning girls, but not just. There is, in your school career, many of people have a permanent feeling of failing. Yeah? Mathematics is linked to failing. Yeah? It's not a positive connotation. Of course, this is linked to lack of confidence, which is extremely important from a philosophical point of view. Mathematics is linked to confidence, to bravery. You're going into the problem. You don't know what it is about, and the mathematician attacks it. However, yeah, it's something foreign, something else, something strange, and you go into it. Yeah? This is not the case in school. You don't want, you are afraid of it. Yeah? Okay. And there is this extremely negative issue of genius and gifted versus, and I don't know what the else is. And the others are the rest, and they are the poor guys and girls. Yeah? Okay. And these one are divided between the honest ones, which are very few, and the ones who say, I'm great. Yeah? And they don't say that they do the training maybe in silence at home and so on, but they present themselves as immediate solvers of problems and so on, which is not the case. They have trained at some time. Yeah? They have done the hard work at some time, but they don't say it because they want to be the great. Yeah? And this is a horrible, it is a social psychological construct of the late 18th, 19th century. All this genius stuff. Yeah? It was not the way. In Italian composing school of the 17th, 18th century, everybody who entered came out as a creative composer. Everybody, with no exception. Yeah? They were able to produce composers, yeah? Which is a creative activity. Yeah? Okay? This knowledge is gone. Yeah? It's no more there. Yeah? Okay. So I strongly, and I, especially this giftedness, I associate a lot with Christian culture. Yeah, you get the gift, yeah, from God. Yeah, so this is something special. This is a very religious thing. Yeah, and I mentioned it in some talk before that there is an active movement against this by leading mathematicians like Terry Tao and others who say, I'm not this genius where you say I have worked on this and so on. And I started at age of 2. Yeah, that's a little advantage that I have. Yeah, okay, but he started there. I'm also started at the age of 3. Yeah, so a little bit later than maybe. Yeah. We don't know, but he worked there, and we cannot trace it back what happened there. Just for the proponents of the mathematically gifted and so on. So that there is no real evidence what happens there. Okay, what's the status of the teachers? The teachers are frustrated because of the situation, that's clear. They have no real support from society, less and less. No support from the parents, of course. And they tend to become cynical, which is a negative aspect for the pupils. Yeah? Okay, and there is a whole industry of private teaching. Yeah? Enormous, unregulated market. Enormous. Nothing is being done there. Yeah? Okay. So that's, there are the math educators somewhere in between. I have to put myself there. Yeah? We didn't solve the problem for the last 40, 50 years since the profession exists. Yeah? That's a fact. Yeah? One has to face this fact. Yeah? Maybe we need this problem in order to have permanent research questions. Yeah. Maybe, that's not it. And hence we might be interested in preserving the status quo in order to be able to publish and go on with this. Yeah? It's provocative, I'm sure, but it's honest. I mean this. I don't put it there because I constructed it. Yeah? Okay, and of course this whole mathematics education area has a strong dilemma between service and science. Science needs to publish all the way on, and service needs to go to the teachers and help them in their everyday life. Yeah? And I think that there is a certain contradiction in these two parts, and the profession of math educators goes much too strong in the science direction with all these publish or perish issues and not strong enough in the service. But it's an issue of another talk. What's going on here? Okay, so there are certain problems. So there are now my arguments about all this. So mathematics needs commitment, and commitment needs time. So most of these arguments are about time. And time issue is a problem in our society. Yeah? That for doing this, so learning this skill, learning this art, yeah, you need time. Like learning the violin, or practicing the violin, not just learning it, but also practicing. Okay, and this commitment needs time. There is also training. You have to train, and this also needs time. Yeah? You need time to learn the language, to use the language, to learn the notation, to use it, to learn the reasoning, and so on. So this needs time. Yeah? And they don't have it. Yeah? And have it less and less. Yeah? This was a difference in more closed societies, like the proto-communist societies, where people had more time. Yeah? They had not so much distraction, and so this was much easier. And of course values, where I mean epidictic and political, so the epidictic genre is the one who preserves values, and political is the one who changes values. So we are now engaging in a political issue. But this epidictic doesn't really work. So there is not enough real issues where mathematics is being preserved. So the value of it. I mean, we can have nice talks about this, but the general idea is a negative one. Yeah? And we should change. Now we have to take this into account. Authorities play also a big role. So, and I mean this in the way that on one hand side you need authorities as role models into going into this, and I doubt if there is enough amount of such authorities. But the other issue of authority is that through learning and being or having learned mathematics to even a very, very low level, you get the feeling of authority. You are in charge of this. Nobody can say that this is not this. I mean, you are able to play the game, and nobody can say, no, you're not able. But because it's a self-confidence issue which leads to the feeling of authority, which is extremely important in, it's an important feature in mathematics, which I didn't hear in the previous talks. And there are some kind of wrong assumptions, like all this self-evidence. I mean, I present something and it is self-evident, but it's self-evident for the proficient. Yeah? It's self-evident, it presupposes already this commitment. I mean, if you're already there, and then you're presented with this, self-evident. Nice, and let's start from here. And so on. But it's, I don't think that what we consider self-evident, others do consider self-evident as well. It contradicts the notion, yeah, but it's okay. So I have now this pendant to the genius, or the question. Now it's the question. So if you need to have genius or to have some certain gift, if you don't have it, then teaching is impossible by definition. Because if you don't have the gift to do this, then teaching cannot help you. So why do we teach the ones who we know that are not gifted? Yeah? So either we have to change this paradigm, or we have to stop to teach the non-gifted because there is no chance. What are we going to prove? Or we have to set some levels. Up to there, you don't need any kind of gift. And from there on, you need it. It would be a nice discussion to see where it is. Yeah? So is it addition and maybe subtraction, division, or there is a division upon division. Yeah? But okay. The drive versus fun, so recipe versus game. Yeah? And we seldom go in school this game aspect of mathematics. You just and what do I have to do? Not what can I do. What do I have to do? This is the question of average school pupil, yeah? Which is a non-mathematical question. A mathematician would ask, how could I do this? Yeah? Maybe this, or maybe in another way. But they know that it's only one way. This is absolutely non-mathematical. Yeah? Okay, for this game, you need time for training and playing. This is clear. And mistakes were already mentioned. They need time. You need to involve time in making mistakes. Yeah? And the status quo is that most of the people, this is what I know also from students, they start learning 2 days before the exam. And imagine you have an exam in violin playing something. You cannot start 2 days before the exam. So, but for some reason, it should be possible in schools-related subjects. So mathematics is in this sense very near to some language issue where you really have to acquire tacit knowledge, you have to embody it, yeah? And this takes time. So we mentioned all these tricks and tools and so on, so they have to be permanently available in order to be proficient on any level, yeah? So this variety makes it what's interesting. You see a problem. Let's try to do it. I know I can go from this side. Maybe somebody else knows 3 other sides. I can learn from it. Okay, but this makes it fun. It doesn't. I try to say to students that I didn't study mathematics because I like quadratic equations, or to insert into the formula. Yeah? This is not. There are other reasons to like them, but not. Familiarity, to speak of Wittgenstein, takes time. Thinking habits take also time. And all this issue of fluency and virtuosity and so on. At every level, you can be fluent in addition, virtuous in addition. It doesn't matter. Just not to stay like this, I want to have some authorities speak instead of me. So this one of the blog entries of Tim Gowers at the end of 2012 was called "What Maths A Level Doesn't Necessarily Give You," and it is about him having had an encounter with a 17-year-old boy who needed some help, and he got quite proficient help. What is here? What I discovered. So this is part of the text. I mean, you can read it in this book. What I discovered was quite boring. So the problem was that he had no idea this boy of differentiation, or had remembered the formula of differentiating powers. So x to the n and n times x to the n plus n minus first, and so he tried to do the same with with the exponential function. And so there is nothing to write, but x times e to the power of x minus 1. So that was the problem, and they tried to work on and so on. And just some extractions here. Again, he denied having seen that derivation. Maybe it was that derivation. Maybe it was at that point that he said that think about not needing to know it for the exam. So there's a lot of motivation for school children is, what do I have to know at the exam? This goes on in university level as well. Don't tell me stories. Tell me what is important for the exam, and the rest. I mean, you can have your fun to talk about this, but I'm interested in what's going to come for the exam. So this is nothing special. And the general point here is, of course, that A levels have got easier, and schools have a natural tendency to teach to the tests. If just one of those were true, it would be far less of a problem, and then he goes on. So it's two things that he sees. So another testimonial is by Vladimir Arnaud, who in an article called "Innumeracy and the Fires of the Inquisition" lamented a lot about the decrease or decline of mathematics level in Russia, not just, but especially Russia. And I put it here because this seems an argument in the other direction, because he advocates mathematics. And by the way, I'm ready to get in a competition with anybody here in advocating why mathematics is so important, and so I'm on the same have the same views like you or the others, but I try to be pragmatic. I think that I could be in quite high rank in this competition, so I have a lot of arguments pro, but I think that they don't count because among us it's clear, but we are not alone. So even more important than the ability to add fractions is the fact that the basic acquaintance with mathematics allows one to distinguish a correct argument from a faulty one. So this is all this issue with mathematical reasoning. And then it's an interesting sentence: without this ability, a society turns into a herd, easily manipulated by demagogues. I have quite the opposite. That the demagogues, which are already manipulating us, are the ones who are keeping mathematics on a low level for a majority of people. There are a few experts, they have them, their own children maybe, yes, but if you were proficient with all these things, you would be much less manipulable by yellow press, by whatever it is. So I think that this democratic thing is biased by a strong influence of elites, which is either systematic or it is explicitly sought for. I have no idea, but this is not important. That it's exactly the other way around. So the manipulation by demagogues, leads to that we don't have this ability but this is also an issue for another talk, for in enough percentage. They don't care. Democratic systems don't care about a small percentage of nice ideas. They don't have the majority. So the readers of high quality newspapers and journals are in minority. Yeah? The important thing, people are the readers of the yellow press, so because they deliver the majorities in voting and so on and so on. So that's just a little bit of thinking, but it's not the main point. Bill Thurston, in his article Mathematics Education, but mathematics education is in an unacceptable state. This is 1990. Yeah? Maybe it has improved, well, who knows? Despite much popular attention to this fact, the real change is slow. You're right. Policymakers often do not comprehend the nature of mathematics or of mathematics education. The reforms, in quotation marks, being implemented in different school systems are often in opposite directions. This phenomenon is a sign that what we need is a better understanding of the problems, not just the recognition that they exist and that they are important. Okay, and, there are two not so famous, but Underwood Dudley in his 2010 article, What is Mathematics For?, where he actually argues is for reasoning. Reasoning is important and so on. He actually goes against this. It's good for because it's so important and you get a good job. So he says, no one has ever said to me, I like math because it got me a good job. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing here. Here is testimony from a contemporary student. The summer after my freshman year, I decided to teach myself algebra. Yeah? So this is the role of autodidactics in mathematics, which I sometimes said in I think in the previous talk. I think it's very interesting to research for. Yeah? But because I think that at the end, autodidactics is this which really delivers knowledge. Yeah? At school, next year, my grades improved from 2.6 GPA to 3.5 GPA. Tests were easier, and so on. So it brings something. Okay, and at the end, because I had this in one of referees, this is not from me, anecdotal evidence to be sure, it's this citation, but then all history is a succession of anecdotes. So this is, take this as an anecdote, the last sentence. Okay, last thing, and then I come to my conclusions. Paul Lockhart in his Mathematician's Lament, or Lockhart's Lament, is a musician wakes from a terrible nightmare. In his dreams, he finds himself in a society where music education has been made mandatory. Yeah? We are helping our students become more competitive in an increasingly sound-filled world. Educators, school systems and the state are put in charge of this vital project. Studies are commissioned, committees are formed and decisions are made. All without the advice or participation of a single working musician or composer. This has to be turned around. I think that a lot of working mathematicians are to be blamed for the status because they don't care actively for it. Yeah? In the Austrian Mathematical Society, there is a letter what the Austrian mathematicians, so the representatives of the Austrian mathematics would wish from the school system, and it stays there at the homepage of the society. And it's a very nice letter, and the school system doesn't care about this letter at all. Yeah? And nobody from the Austrian Mathematical Society did care to change something actively. Yeah? So they have made their statements from their authority point of view, but their authority is not recognized by educational system. Okay, since musicians are known to set down their ideas in the form of sheet and so on, so this is not so important. I like this thing. I have to get my son a music tutor. He simply won't apply himself to his music homework. He says it's boring and so on. So this would lead to some things like we have dyscalculia. It would lead to dysviolinier or something. This violinist would be the same. It would be by the World Health Organization be recognized as an illness and so on. Okay, just to finish with it. So what kind of results would such an effort lead to? And I'm still serious, completely serious. Yeah? It will immediately change the reputation, at least from negative to zero, yeah, of mathematics, because the image, and there will be a change in association. You associate, and this was said in previous talks, mathematics with your school curriculum. Most people, okay? Where else do they meet mathematics? Okay, the enemy will disappear, Yeah, it's now a battle actually. It's called a real battle. The enemy is the teacher. Mathematics itself is the enemy. It will disappear, and possibly the layman interest will grow. Because they will not have this negative connotation from you. Why? It might be interesting. Let's have a look and go to some course offered by London Mathematical Society. Better atmosphere for teaching and learning of the rest, clearly. Immediate annihilation of private teaching market. Immediately. It will disappear from today to tomorrow. It will disappear. Because there will be no need.
Yes.
What is the negative? So there will some jobs for teachers will be lost. Yeah? Not all, because all these specialized schools and so on, this small curriculum and so, I mean private teachers. I didn't put here private because I don't consider it a real job. Okay, I'm not aware of any other negative. Yeah. But you can change. Yeah? And the neutral one, and sorry, this shouldn't look offensive, but there will be still place and research in mathematics education. Yeah? So you will not lose your vocation. Okay, thank you very much.